another big announcement that happened on the first. I mean, we've been talking about it, speculating about it, and it is here. AEW, All Elite Wrestling, was announced on the strike of midnight on New Year's Day. It is what we thought. Cody and the Young Bucks are down. I believe they are in executive positions in the company. They are pretty much, they're like the executive vice presidents. It's being bankrolled and owned by Tony Khan, who's the co-owner of the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's the major financial backer for the company. They're said, according to sources, that he's fronting $100 million for the launch of AEW. Was this everything you thought, or was this as exciting as you thought it was going to be? Did it make you cry, like some of these people online have been saying?
I think it's very, in regards to the Tony Khan thing, I think it's very bold to invest in professional wrestling in 2018, considering the major giant and the major monopolizer that is WWE. I mean, in America and things like that. So I think it's bold in itself. But in terms of what it is, did I cry? No, I'm more. I'm interested to see where it goes, and I'm interested to see if it's really just going to be the same thing that we've seen on the independents for the last 2 years, just under, their own umbrella. I think it's, to me, it's very the fact that can we say that Josh Pease?
yeah, we can say that.
He came up to us today. He's like, "Hey, have you guys heard of AEW? I'm down." And I'm just
he's just trendy, man. He's just a trendy guy.
It's a Double or Nothing, and I was like, all right, man, all right.
He's just a trendy guy, and that is also what they announced. They announced that All In 2 would be called Double or Nothing. I can't speak for Josh. He's an interesting fellow.
The drive around it right now is speculation, isn't it? Because it's really now it's like you have Cody and the Bucks, but who else, right? So all the narrative surrounding it is like speculation, like, who could be joining it? They've said that, WWE superstars aren't quite happy with where they're going. Now they want to jump ship to AEW. And I'm like, that's kind of risky, honestly.
Yeah, for something that's not a sure thing. I have heard that, the contracts for a lot of people that they've been signing up people since like the end of last year. And a lot of people are very interested. A lot of people are going to try that out when their current deals end. A lot of wrestlers are under like Lucha Underground deals, and it takes a while for those things to clear up. We'll know everything. I'm guessing dates and everything next week. On the 8th, on Tuesday the 8th, they're going to have a press conference in Duval, in Florida.
Duval. Oh wow.
Duval. Shout out to Amp. Shout out to Amp Pavelli. They're gonna have a press conference there where I'm guessing they're going to announce a lot of different things. So I think.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts? I'm interested in your thoughts because I've given my thoughts, and I'm not like I'm here. I'm like, I respect. Oh, you're building your own wrestling thing, but I'm not exactly excited because I'm used to the whole Cody and the Bucks sort of situation, and it's like, we're doing this again. Let's see how this kind of goes on. But what is your genuine thoughts on it?
On one end, it's competition. I think that makes anything better. I think WWE has been in need of it for at least 3 years, especially when we get those lulls like we did last November. Like, God forbid, having to watch Raw without the threat that, there is something else that you could be watching instead of this. I don't think AEW is going to be like a weekly threat to them right now. Not at all. I just don't think that's going to be the case. But on the other end of it, it's like, when you get down to brass tacks, what is this company going, like, who is their competition? It's not WWE. Their nearest competition is New Japan Wrestling and ROH, which I think ROH is definitely there's a threat ROH could literally be destroyed by AEW, because a lot of the people that are going to sign there are going to be people that like didn't sign the ROH again. It's all the Bucks and Cody and Adam Page and everyone that ROH put all of their chips behind in the past 2 or 3 years are gone. I think that's their competition. They want to bury ROH. And if that's the case, like if we're just going to get another ROH with, with money from another bankroller that might or might not be problematic, I'm not sure. Then I mean, I'm cool, whatever. I'm tired of the Cody type matches, the Bucks matches. They always give a solid match, but I mean, they're pretty much going to give the same matches. Like I'm wondering about the matchups. I'm wondering about the talent that's going to sign there, and the time that we're going to have to watch this. Now you're adding another one, and it's like ROH, New Japan, WWE. Whatever else you want to watch, PWG, which is something that I watch also. And I think we said this like off air. It's like I said, like I have the same amount of hours in the day that you do, but it's like a lot of that hours has to go into something that people are going to watch, you know, like, or it's like researching old WWE stuff or New Japan stuff. It's like, how is this going to work? And I'm waiting and holding off on a lot of opinions until they do give a press conference. But like, you can't sell me snake oil. And they sold that to me on All In, and it ended up being like a 7.5 show. It's impressive. I think it's dope. I think that, like, you know, if they get some of these people like JR, Jim Ross is supposed to be signing there pretty soon because his WWE contract is coming up. That's interesting. But does Jim Ross still have it, Meelz? Do you think he still has it as a talent relations guy or even as a commentator?
You know, I think honestly, the days of really a major contribution outside of maybe even consulting, is behind Jim Ross. Just because I think of age and just health and all these other things that are just concerning regarding Jim Ross. Not to say that, I mean, if he wants to do it, by all means, you know, seek your happiness and by all means, just go do it, my friend. But, oh yes, the police sirens of the new year.
Totally walking through the streets of New York.
But it's you know, I'm interested in terms of what's the big selling point? What's the attraction?
Jim Ross ain't selling me.
Nah, Jim Ross is not at this point. No, Jim Ross, don't bring, you know, the Josh kid from Tough Enough who's in TNA. I'm not buying it. I don't want to hear Matt Stryker, honestly. It's kind of like, to me, it's exciting. It's exciting because it's new, but there's not much outside of that.
They talking about Goldberg possibly signing on for maybe like a one-off or something. It's like, okay, so like you've always wanted to see Goldberg spear Cody. Like, so what? Like, I'm sorry, like,
but I don't think even Goldberg does that because at what point did Goldberg? I think if he really wanted to sign outside of a major player, he would have done it in the 12 years he didn't wrestle professionally.
Yeah.
Like, to me, that doesn't. But then again, I'm not really fighting about Goldberg here. That's besides the point. The point is, it's like, what to me, the attraction. There has to be one. There has to be the great. You know, to me, if you're doing this in the United States, there has to be the great next American star, which I think they have to sort of build. There has to be a sort of attraction of its own beyond just, you know, we're doing this, but we're doing it with flips now.
Exactly. That's what it looks like. That's what it's right. Like. It's like
it has to be in a. No, go ahead.
It's like what's their star other than, I mean, obviously they're not going to say it's Kenny right now, but it's looking like Kenny is going to be like their centerpiece, which like whatever, like he is a top 5 wrestler in the world. That's a big get. Is he putting asses in seats all over the world? I think honestly they keep doing these shows, like keep it to Vegas, keep it to Chicago, keep it to MSG.
I think he could, by the way. I think he could. To me, if Kenny Omega, in terms of just that, you know,
it's the only place you can see him. If it's the only place you can see him, hell yeah.
Yes, obviously, yes, 100%. To me, it's similar to the AJ Styles factor, where it's just like the biggest star outside of WWE, the biggest homegrown star outside of WWE. That's what I see Kenny Omega as. And to me, if he doesn't sign there, it's kind of really hard to find that next big, great American star. But it's just interesting to me. I think you need that. I think you need you need something, just your own selling point, just beyond the fact that it's, again, WWE with flips. I think you need its own look and its sort of own appeal, which to me, the only company that has really managed to do that is Lucha Underground. But that hasn't saved Lucha Underground from, you know, that hasn't made it Lucha Underground any more attractive to a major audience. And I do think it's mainly because it's lucha and not like American professional wrestling. So it's not like people can really. You're really only watching if you're a super wrestling fan who appreciates all types of wrestling. You're not really watching if you're just like a Joe Schmo who needs to see someone get their head kicked off.
Then it's like you got Jericho also attached to AEW, which is like if you're. I told Josh the same thing. I say if your big selling points is Jim Ross, Goldberg, and Chris Jericho, then you might as well. You're better off watching Impact or something like that. Like it took Impact a long time to get the stigma of, oh, these are ex WWE guys off of their plate. Like look at their roster now. Pretty much almost all originals there. Right. It took them years to shake that.
And then I think they kind of lost it with, I think, a bunch of backstage and creative decisions that they made that sort of, it became less about the selling the television sport and more about the game of who's in the power backstage and who's writing what and who's doing that, which for all, intents and purposes, is something that once again could plague AEW, considering who are the executive vice presidents. You have wrestlers who are on the roster, also the executive vice presidents of the actual, thing. So it's kind of like you're kind of playing with fire in a sense.
Yeah, it is.
I have thoughts.
I don't trust. I'm sorry, if the Bucks are behind the booking and creative, like I don't trust that either. It's like, if these are all going to be like being the elite episodes and they're not going to have a leash and there's not going to be anyone back there creatively telling them not to do shit, this is looking like real Kevin Nash-ish.
I was just thinking Kevin Nash. Kevin Nash and a Motor City Machine Guns type of deal.
Yeah.
That's a throwback. That's a throwback.
Throwback nepotism. Yeah. Shout out. Before one more thing before we get off of this, do you think this is a war? Is this a war?
Not yet. I do think they've done their part in terms of just, you remember when they showed up and then they showed up at that WWE thing and decided to, show up and cause a thing outside and got Jimmy Jacobs fired and et cetera, et cetera. I think they have it in their mind that, listen, we want to be competition. Even if we go down burning and, in the flame, we at least did it and we did it on our terms. So I think they definitely want to do that. But in terms of just competition now, I mean, WrestleMania is coming up. Like,
yeah, like you can't. Well, here's this one thing that like does bother me is that like their wrestling media is so co-opted. It's like,
oh yeah, 100%.
It's so co-opted right now. It's like we talk about like, oh yeah, a lot of this stuff is going to get sucked up by WrestleMania news. It's possible that they're going to be trying to put this AEW shit next to WrestleMania news, and I think that's like, but there's no telling when this is going to premiere. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
It's insanity that how co-opted this shit has been, and I think it's hilarious. I think we really need to start being a little bit more careful of our news sources as far as wrestling, and start parsing through who's the guy that's telling the truth and who the people that aren't. Like, I give a shout out to Fightful and Sean sat there. He's been pretty much cut and dry neutral. I give a shout out to Post Wrestling, cut and dry neutral. John Pollock's an amazing journalist. I'm not trusting Dave Meltzer no more. That's done.
Mm-hmm.
Dave Meltzer came out the damn side of the room talking about some, hey, turn on the Wrestling Observer Live right now, bro. Turn it on right now, bro. You listen to it.
We got some news on All Elite Wrestling, and I'm just like, you dead ass.
he literally hit the Boosie's daughter. I told y'all. Like Dave, chill, bro. Like, what the fuck? It's crazy, man. Like, it's just crazy. But that's AEW. We'll of course we'll keep you guys informed of what they say on their press conference next week, and we'll have more more observations as it comes.